Welcome back to another edition of Eric's Corner with the word of the not so wise. Joining you on a very frigid Saturday morning. It's about 5 degrees outside. I made a couple of videos about doomsday prepping and bug out loadout, and my one video I had a really good response to. In about 4 days I had 330 something views, passing my other videos that did really well, that had been out for a month, and by later that afternoon that was up another 220 views, and it's passed my top video about Bristol Bay interview that I did by like a huge margin, and I got 20 new subscribers. Thank you for joining me. So that's a really good turnout, you know, especially when we have, you know, 70-ish subscribers. Going up 20 is a lot. I mean, 20 is a lot anyway, but per ratio is, for where I'm at, was a really good feedback. I don't know if I had better hashtags in there that got more attention, but I'll throw those in. So my niche might be talking about doomsday prepping versus, you know, political stuff. So I'm going to cover, as far as doomsday videos, I'm going to do one about the Deuce and other bug out rigs, mapping escape routes, type of disasters, and how you can kind of do a one-size-fits-all prep for them. There's never going to be one. You got things like EMPs and nukes. Obviously, if we got a nuke, you got much bigger problems, and there's not really much getting away from it. Earthquakes that cause tsunamis, which is a big worry where I'm at, or landslides, which can take out roads, cutting off supplies from Anchorage. For instance, and of course, floods and tornadoes, which is a bug-in issue. I'll go over setting up camp and some survival stuff. I mean, y'all in densely populated areas are more likely to die of exposure than actually running out of supplies, which you will. Talk about building a compound and keeping maps and basic stuff. So I'm going to get into the M35A2 Deuce and a half, which I covered before. I'm going to dive a little deeper into it. I prefer a truck like that mostly because of its multi-fuel function. And that is as far as other military vehicles. I'm pretty sure it's the only one. I mean, of course, you can dump anything in a truck and get you by. Might get you out of an emergency. Okay, fantastic. That's what it's for. If it explodes and you ruin it, then oh well, hopefully it got you at least out of that emergency. I talked to Big Mike at Big Mike's Motor Pool. I'd love to have him on the show. We've talked about the multi-fuel function and how to utilize it and not cause other problems, because you can dump raw waste oil in the tank. You have to have a fuel gas mixture. Some guys are running it up to 80%, but it stinks real bad, so about 50-50 is good. And you got to have access to some kind of centrifuge, which filters it very down to a 0 micron and gets all the crud out of it. I put 5 gallons of waste oil in some old gas and diesel mixture, mostly for lubrication. You can run straight gas in it, but it's hard on the fuel pump because there's no lubricant in it. You can run straight waste oil, but it's hard on the fuel pump because it's too thick. So you kind of got to balance that out. But again, in an emergency, go for it. So I let it settle out, and it stayed in there for months and months and months. I don't drive the Deuce very much. I don't think I've put 800 miles on it since I've owned it, and 300 of those miles was just getting it from the valley. And I said, well, if all the crud settles out and you pump this far off the bottom, and that's junk, you throw it out, you burn it carefully, depending on how much gas is in there. And I figured that would be enough. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, because I had a breakdown that had nothing to do with any of that stuff. I covered that in another video. But Deuces and a halves are cheap. Their parts are readily available, not as far as you can go to Napa and get them, but the internet is full of them. Back when they made these things, they made a shit ton of parts for them. And there's a lot of good channels on how to maintain them. They're slow, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you're trying to escape from something in a panic, going too fast, and you run off the road, have an accident, well, that didn't really help you at all. And plus, you know, you run into traffic where you got gridlock, just run between them. You got a horn, get people out of the way, push through them only as fast as you need to, because you can damage your equipment. In another video, I talked about a zombie survival tip of the day, which was going in reverse, going through hordes of zombies to not damage your car. Well, that's a car. This, you don't have that problem. They're easy to repair, easy to tinker with. They're often stored in deserts, so you generally find them in much better condition than you would an old vehicle that somebody's owned in an environment like I'm in. I actually have a lot of work I got to do to my Deuce to try to preserve it, to make sure these elements don't turn it into a steaming pile of shit, and I'd love to do a full restore on it someday. Mine has the camper van on it, which I want to, well, the van, the command center van. I want to turn it into a camper someday, so to take it on camping trips. The thing with owning something like that, you really have to be kind of an enthusiast. You can't just have one and just leave it parked and expect it to work. I did a video about a fuel and air line that chafe. Right now my batteries are completely shot. They're old batteries and they are expensive to replace. You can, and it's a 24-volt system, so you can't just throw you can throw a pair of car batteries in and you hook them what's called in series. I'll expand on that if you want, but that's what gives you a 24-volt system, because they're two 12-volt batteries. These batteries are 4D, I believe. They're about this big on the top, about yay deep. The average person, just throw a couple car batteries in there, secure them really well. These are designed to fit really tight. But my purpose is, again, I want to make a camper van out of it. I'm a bit more into it than most people. So I'm going to just spend the money on the good batteries. I recommend Interstate. There's one called a Commercial that I had in my generator, and that sucker has been a survivor. It has only just now died on me, and it didn't even die completely. I should have put a battery maintainer on it anyway. I don't know. I just didn't think of it, didn't get to it. I was trying to start to keep it charged and all that, and I overlooked it. You don't have to go that huge. I recommend any four-wheel drive, older truck. Talk to some people, talk to mechanics, and ask them. You need something with what's called points ignition. My 67 Mustang has it as well. I put an electronic one in there, but it's really simple. It's just a magnet. I don't think it would be disturbed in an EMP, but since I was making this video, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to get the points so I can change them if I need to. Then I have extra transportation, but it's an old car. It's slow. It's two-wheel drive. It'll get you from point A to point B, but it's by no means a bug-out vehicle. You got to have something four-wheel drive and something more truck-like. So, with doomsday prepping, it kind of checks all my personal boxes as far as hobbies. I like tinkering with old stuff like that. I like military history, and I like doomsday prepping. So something like that is a good hobby. Like I said, you can't just buy something like that and just let it sit and just fire it up and take off. You got to drive it every once in a while, fix little things, tinker with it, learn basic mechanics, learn how to hotwire a car, because I figured it out. I was doing some ignition work in high school, and I don't think I can tell you how to do it, because obviously I'm telling you how to steal a car, but it's pretty easy to figure out. Talk to any mechanic should be able to tell you how to do it. I don't want to get another strike. I made a video about KJP, and I just simply said I think she's a fraud, and I got a strike for that, and I don't want my channel canceled. In fact, I'm surprised I made it to more than 100 videos before that happened. And like I said, it's very robust. It's tough. You can drive through a multi-car pileup. Theoretically, if you can get to a corner, you can push through vehicles. Yeah, it might be a dick move, but hey, self-preservation, I don't know what to tell you. If it's me and my kids and stuff, I'm going to do whatever I can to get out. I'm not going to say I'm going to shoot your tires out on my way by, but I will push through, and people will get out of your way to not damage their own vehicle. So anything old capacity, let's see here. I'm trying to stay real specific. Like if you live in a city, an old moped might get you out. You keep it in your apartment. I'm going to talk about when to bug out, and if you have any inclination that you think it might be a bad situation, just do a drill. If nothing of it, okay, at least you did a drill. You know what you can do better. You can do a little better job of preparing. Like I said, I want to set mine up as a camper. I'm going to have all my supplies in there, but until I do that, I keep it empty, because I do a trunk or treat haunted house with it. I'd like to, keep it empty for that until I actually make a camper out. So I don't keep a lot of supplies in there, but I can easily throw my supplies in there in a few minutes. It's winter right now. I got it all chained up, and that's not really because I'm right on the main road. That's not really getting from my house. It's as soon as I pull off the main road, those tires are absolutely worthless on any kind of a slick surface. I was actually taking my buddy's house and do some work to it, but it won't start now. I mean, I could get it started if I had to. Just, you know, it's a manual. I can roll start it. That's where you put it in third gear, you hold the clutch in, tow it with another vehicle, you dump the clutch and it'll crank and get going. So I could get it going if I had to. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop the $600, $700, $800 on batteries. Again, go with Interstate. I'd highly recommend. Napa makes a very good product. A lot of people have been having trouble with their batteries lately. I don't know what's going on. I've talked to the people at Napa. They've been selling me car parts since the very first car parts I was breaking. That's my particular Napa. I mean, there's hundreds of years of car knowledge, and most people there are also contractors doing other things. Like, they're way beyond knowledgeable than your regular parts store person, but I live in a small town. They just don't have... There's 5 that have worked there for 20 years. And the guy that owns it, I think, or more, even 30 years. The guy that owns it owned it forever. Super knowledgeable. So find knowledgeable people. Yeah, I'm going to rig up extra heaters in there. Again, it'll be a camping rig, so I want the heavier batteries. I'm going to hook up an auxiliary diesel heater. I'm not going to plumb it to the fuel tank because I might run multi-fuel. I'll just have a separate diesel tank. And in a bug out situation, I'm going to take a bunch of extra diesel with me. And like I say, don't rely on looting, but it's at some point you bug out, you're going to need to come to a town and get supplies. Well, so take anything you can carry reasonably. I can easily get a few quarts of oil and mix it and expand my fuel source, but I wouldn't be going too far. There's no real reason to have a 5,000 mile range. In a tsunami situation, I'm at a couple hundred feet. So, and between here and Anchorage, I mean, especially in the Deuce, if that's what I'm taking, it'd be an 8-hour drive because I'd be doing 25 theoretically with chains on it. And the whole way is at sea level. So I'd be far better off to take a back road, which I was scoping out before I get further away from the shore. I get higher into the mountains, lots of open country where I can hide, or at least get away from the initial disaster. And the initial disaster sometimes isn't your problem. It's going to be when people get hungry and start panicking and go after your supplies. So I'm going to talk about your escape route and how to move around and get your camp. That's another video. So like I said, I'm trying to keep these short so I don't give you too much to think about in one spot. Learn basic survival. I did a bug out pack episode. I'm gonna redo that or expand on it and do a little better job there too. So anyway, that's the M35A2 Deuce and a half. Lots of good channels on those. They're readily available. They're cheap. I paid $6,500 for mine and it's in remarkable shape. It still needs lots of work. So thank you for joining me. Yeah, stay warm, stay dry, all that good stuff. And yeah, go Texas. Thank you for joining me.